And then, of course, there's the committee that sponsored this meeting or this webinar, which is the Commercial Plant Breeding Committee that really combines all the, several companies that have plant breeding activities. And so with that, I would say, let me hand you over to Marimar. Marimar is the intellectual property scientist lead at Bayer Crop Science, and she will continue to introduce our panelists.
Thank you, Klaus. Thank you, everyone, for attending our seminar. It's really an important topic here. So my name is Marimar Butwill. I am an IP scientist lead with Bayer Crop Science. I've been here for around 7 years. I was with Corteva for almost 10 before. And I'm also part of the NAPB Commercial Committee. And we thought, the topic of speaking about overcoming the pandemic, especially for our industry, since we are such an essential part of the community, was something we wanted to discuss with the NAPB community. And at the same time, I'm part of the Women in Science Exchange here at Bayer. And I really made a goal for myself to do as much as I can to promote women as leaders. Bayer has a high commitment on that as well. And so I thought about telling the story of overcoming the pandemic from women standpoint. And for that, of course, we needed to have women who would volunteer to tell their stories and how this past year have been in their lives. So we have 3 awesome speakers. We have had to change one of the speakers, and we appreciate Sara Brown coming in and stepping in replacement for Christy, who had an emergency come up. Really also appreciate the NAPB communication and education committees who have done quite a bit helping us organize it. As a commercial committee, or at least for myself, it's the first time we are organizing it. So please bear with us. We are now recording it, so hopefully it will be available for other people to see it later as well. So much appreciated. And so I will start by introducing Sara Brown. And Sara is a fellow Bayer Crop Science. She is a sweet corn development breeder. She is accountable for the early pipeline for fresh and processing sweet corn. She partners closely with commercial breeders and data scientists to build a robust pipeline that accelerates results centered on customer needs. She's thrilled to be a part of an organization where there is a common goal to deliver superior products. Dr. Brown has a PhD and a master from the University of Wisconsin-Madison in plant breeding and plant genetics, and a minor in plant pathology. Her dedication and experience led her to receive the Peloquin Fellowship in 2011 and the UW-Madison Graduate School Fellowship in 2012. Prior being a sweet corn breeder, Sara has spent 5 years as a soybean breeder and a scientist at Bayer Crop Science. So I'll pass it on to Klaus, so he can also introduce our second speaker.
Yes, okay. It's my pleasure to introduce Lucy Cruz, Flores. She's the Puerto Vallarta winter nursery or continuous nursery site of Corteva. Lucy has 24 years experience as a leader in the seed industry. She currently, as I said, is the site leader in our group that we call Global Research Seed Development, GRSD, located near Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And she has assumed that role since February 2018. Before having this assignment, Lucy worked 7 years for Dow AgroSciences, leading a multi-functional complex site for seeds and research development and parent seeds located near Salinas in Puerto Rico. She's directing currently all aspects of site management, people leadership, and development. There are 52 full-time employees at the site, and about 600 seasonal employees are employed at the site under her direction for continuous seed production nurseries supporting more than 40 breeding programs and other special projects, pretty much servicing the global Corteva breeding efforts in various regions. Prior to her time with Corteva, she headed the multi-season R&D program in Monsanto, located in Juana Diaz, Puerto Rico. Lucy holds an agricultural sciences degree with a major in agronomy and soil sciences from the University of Puerto Rico, Mayagüez campus.
Thank you,
And now
Klaus.
back to you, Marimar.
All right, thank you. So introducing our last but not least speaker here, it's Stella Siddarth. She's the U.S. Research Farming Senior Manager. Stella is also my fellow Brazilian from the beautiful Northeast. So Stella had completed her PhD in a collaboration project between the USDA and the Riverside, California, in her university in Brazil. Her main areas of studies were plant development under salt and drought stress, including fertility and adjustment and nutrition adjustment as well. She has joined Driscoll's in 2019, representing the R&D farming and greenhouse team in the US. So most recently, Dr. Siddarth has been assigned to oversee the greenhouse team in Mexico and the farming team in Baja, following the same type of work she has been doing in the US. So Stella takes pride that her team demonstrates the Driscoll's mission and values that are humility, trustworthiness, and passion in all their interactions, internally and externally. So with that, I would like to invite Sara Brown to start our panel here of speakers. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that great introduction. And with that, it says, Marimar, I'm not able to share my screen. Is there one?
Sorry,
That's all right. Once,
like that.
click a couple buttons.
Yes.
And oh yeah, that'll work.
Okay.
There we go. All right, so I think you guys can see a PowerPoint, right?
Viendo, mami,
Yes.
creo que sí. A ver si me pongo como un poquito de este lado, porque hay un abanico.
Okay, so great, thanks for that great introduction, everyone. We'll just check mute.
Sorry.
That's okay. There. Okay. So thank you so much for the invitation to come and speak. And first things first, thank you to everybody on this call and watching this for your time today. I think it's important to take time to connect, and this is a great forum to do that. And so really just a little bit of background about myself. My experience in the breeder role in industry, really as it stands to date, there are a lot of pieces of the journey that are at the pandemic, which is where we're at right now, and hopefully emerging from the pandemic and beyond. And really, my experience as a breeder role in industry right now is to orchestrate the pipeline. So it's really supported by methods and analyses that result in innovative products that really are focused on our customer demands. So I know it's going to be fun to hear the different perspectives that everybody's bringing to actually enable this pipeline, and hopefully I can give you a little bit of background about the breeding role itself. So the question that I was thinking of, at least for the pandemic and how we're navigating through that, how has the past driven where I'm personally at today and in the future? And then my question for the folks on this call, what do you want your future to look like? So just everybody has a different story. And in my case, my background started a master's degree and an interest in undergraduate working in potato. So I worked in potato for my master's and doctorate degree, One was a quality trait that I was looking at, and the other one was really more of a traditional project with mapping for disease resistance. And so that in between there, the master's and PhD, I was a research assistant for 3 years at a soybean research station here in Wisconsin. And there was my first really introduction to industry and how do we apply the research, at least in this case in industry, what are the goals we're trying to achieve? And in this part, in this I guess learnings in my life, really, when I think of like the Bayer life values, which are leadership, efficiency, integrity, and flexibility, really that's about efficiency in those periods of my life, like learning what do I need to do, what is my goal, that is to learn, and not only just as much as possible um, from from the standpoint of what facts do I need to know, or what what information do I need to move to the next step, but how do I problem solve? How do I interact with others? Yeah, I can, this is what I can do well. Is that something that I can do better? And so I think that really was the focus there in efficiency, and in this case, integrity, like thinking through the rest of your career. How do you what are your values, like how do you want to maintain integrity while still delivering on the business goals? I would say as a scientist, I spent a year working working, and it was a newer role.
Is Sarah still speaking?
I cannot hear her.
Yeah, it's breaking up here.
Okay.
To this situation, we learned I learned a lot of things about being a scientist in an organization, and how to build relationships with others to really also take me to that next role, which is really around what I was most passionate about, which was being involved in the analytics and the operations and day-to-day in the breeding organization. So there, I would say I had a focus on flexibility, um, not only being efficient, but really being flexible, material coming from different places, and really developing relationships with colleagues that I had. Winter nurseries, seed that we were providing to winter nurseries for seed return, transformations in an organization where we're learning about responsibilities and having them evolve for the tools that we have to make us competitive in the marketplace. And that in that case, I would say I picked up a lot of leadership skills. And this is something for those in graduate school. Start now. If I could bring some advice, I'm glad that I was involved in some of the graduate student events. In those cases that really taught me how am I a leader? What is a leadership style that I have, and how does it complement others that have a different set of skills? And in that case, so in this last year and a half, I've been in this sweet corn line development breeder role, and in my case personally, it's a dream job because it's a dream location as well, and working in vegetables, which is pretty unique in and of itself. So I had another couple slides here to just to talk through with you guys, and I kind of wanted to go over a few things. And in terms of the pandemic, there's two parts, I think, two categories I get of lumping activities, I would say, in being a breeder. One is about probably in total about 3 months out of the year, really focus on execution and delivery. And in this case, the theme is really have a plan and a willingness to pivot on priorities. And here's where really the pandemic, where it kicked in, and some of the past experience and being open to learning and questioning and being, again, willing to pivot and prioritize, really accelerated in some cases some innovation. And mainly because this execution and delivery piece, communicating decisions and delivering on, checking in on local teams. We hearing a lot about we have to distance the number of people in the field. How do we work through this as a team? Data QC, all of that is tied together. And then phenotyping, studying germplasm. Do we send one person to the field? Do we send 3 people very separately to the field? Do we not travel to winter nursery at all? Or do we take some risks there? How do we pivot on that? And then I would say there's some things here. I have troubleshooting with analytics scientists or engineers. Not going to, in exchange for not doing some things, I would say we bought or challenged ourselves in the area where we might want to grow anyway. And so for my case, it was really working with engineers on a few pieces that a few weeks out of the year that I would have not otherwise done. And so that I think is an interesting take in how we have to look at the challenges the pandemic brought to that. The next slide I had here was in total, about another 6 months out of the year. So again, the theme again, have a plan, but be willing to pivot on the priorities and the information that you have. So here it's really thinking deeply about what are we doing in the pipeline? What do we need to look ahead, very futuristic for the pipeline? What do we need to partner right now to make a decision to result in that for later? And so this deep think on strategy and identifying questions to work with experts, this really, this time period and the parameters that we have with the pandemic really challenged how and what questions do we need to ask, or what questions do we need to ask and prioritize, and how do we want to go about answering that? And so I will say, like on the positive note for the pandemic, that really pushed that conversation and provide the opportunity for us to really think about that deeply. And finally here, I just wanted to emphasize, pandemic or not, delivering a product does require innovation, collaboration, and a common objective. So in a pandemic, we've really worked really hard together to identify solutions and in fact accelerate innovation to deliver the pipeline in this case. And in this last year, I was trying to think of what have I taken on personally from a development standpoint as a result of this pandemic, and it's taken me a while to come to actual messaging on this. And really, I would have to say, looking back and forward, in the last year, my personal challenge has really been to say, yes, it's possible to achieve that if we, and then say how that's even possible. And then that starts the discussion, and we can take it from there. So anyway, thanks again to everyone to listening. I'm happy to field questions or discussion or move on to the next speaker for whatever's needed here.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Wonderful, beautiful pictures there. Really pretty. Yes, we'll move on to our next speaker, and Lucy, and then after that we'll have Stella, and later I will have some Q&A. And Lucy, maybe we need to unmute you, or? Yeah, we aren't hearing you yet.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. So good morning. Thanks for the invitation. My name is Lucy Cruz, and currently I am the site leader for Corteva AgriScience in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, heading a continuous seed production center here. Today, I will share about some of my experiences and my journey during this challenging time, okay? I come from a humble family. My grandfather was a small farmer, and many times I helped him with farm activities. And from there, my love for agriculture was born. Since I was a little girl, while other children wanted to be doctors, lawyers, policemen, etc., my main desire really was to become an agronomist and take care of the land and talk to the flowers and animals. That was my idea at that time. In 1988, I joined University of Puerto Rico, Mayagüez campus, and achieved a degree in agricultural sciences with a major in agronomy and soils. In 1997, I was hired by Monsanto Caribe in Juana Díaz, Puerto Rico, to lead the multi-season R&D program there. I collaborated there for 14 years with different crops such as sunflowers, corn, soybeans, sorghum, and cotton. But also, my last 2 years there, I performed as a compliance leader, directing quality management system responsibilities and regulated field trials compliance. There, I had many great experiences, but very stressful too. Leading a multi-season program in the tropics, it really is not an easy task. If the crops survive the insect pressure, then a hurricane threat was present. So it's difficult, different combination, you know. All these challenges keep me going. I never get bored. This is the beauty of my job. You know, every day is a different story, and I enjoy that. In 2011, I joined Dow AgroSciences as site leader of a multifunctional location there. And we were hosting a corn parent seeds production plant. There, I managed a huge site with 1,800 acres of land. So this means that my challenges were bigger too. Then in 2018, I became part of Corteva. The site consists of more than 50 full-time employees, plus 500 to 600 temporary employees, contractor during the high season, to achieve literally, you know, millions of hand pollinations yearly. So we are very big site. Throughout my 20 years of professional career in the seed production industry, I have bravely faced many challenges and have wisely took over every opportunity as presented. I'm proud of that, really. My sense of urgency and my ability to quickly adapt to constant change are, you know, two key aspects that helped me to endure my career. However, being a leader for one of the largest sites in Corteva has its sacrifices. I have accepted the challenge of leaving behind temporarily and physically my beloved family and my beautiful island, Puerto Rico, to start this new adventure here in Mexico. I thank God, you know, for granting me my beautiful family. I really miss them. They have been always very patient and unconditionally support my career. So it's not easy to, you know, find a family like I have, really. They are perfect. We never imagined that our separation will be more difficult due to this pandemic. We haven't seen each other since January 2020. So more than a year that we don't be together. We are not sharing together. As I mentioned before, I am a site leader, but really sometimes I think that companies should change our job title to crisis leader, because I feel, you know, I am prepared to fight almost everything. We need to dominate many competencies, people skills, budget, health and safety, technical skills, etc. Trust me, as a site leader, you will need to be prepared for the unexpected, having a plan B, C, and sometimes even Z, you know, to be, it will be necessary to achieve your goals. It's complicated. Our responsibility is very big. I constantly tell my employees, I am their facilitator, working behind the scenes for them to shine. You know, so for me, that point is very important. I am their facilitator. In 2017, while I was leading Puerto Rico site, also a major life-threatening event occurred, Hurricane Maria, The island was devastated for a Category 5 hurricane. No power, no water, no communications for many months. I had the responsibility to coordinate with the Dow crisis management team at that time. And the first company flight out of Fort arrived to the island full of supplies, and an additional staff arrived to support us just 2 days after the hurricane left the island. So it was very difficult time for us there. I coordinated the search and rescue of missing employees while granted the site reconstruction. So working 2 different tasks at the same time, help with the nearby community rehabilitation. And just 1 month later, we were planting in our winter season nurseries to ensure the R&D and advancement and delivery. So difficult times there. Then 2020, the pandemic is incredible. In Mexico, the pandemic was declared in March. We were in the middle of the harvest of 2 million pollinations when we were asked to be prepared to close the site if COVID-19 cases appear. The government announced a potential curfew, and many things came to my mind. I'm not an easy person to stop, so I say, well, we cannot lose the season now, but how do I keep my staff, over 600 people, safe while still executing? That was the question. So Puerto Vallarta has been working without disruptions since the pandemic began. How did I do it? First, I knew that we had to keep the site operating. So I influenced leadership to work with local government and seed association to continue to ensure the business continuity. Even during the curfew, we still working. We wrote and implemented several guidelines and new processes to ensure low contagious rate. And we increased our focus on the employees' well-being. That was key for me. First, individual commitment and accountability at all levels. Make people understand that they are part of this. That was key. And second, keep employees well informed at all times, based on trusted information to reduce miscommunication and misconceptions, Third, the use of tracing tools, like the AMOK app and a local questionnaire. Also, frequent and effective sanitization procedures have been play a huge role in the path to achieve our goals. Sometimes we say, well, we are in the field, we cannot do anything. Well, we did. So lastly, and in my opinion, one of the most important of all, besides the required hand washing, social distancing, and mask use, was something that we implemented, the employee segregation strategy. Wearing colored vests and group numbers has allowed immediate employee identification while avoiding agglomerations by taking care of each group distance inside and outside the fields. This has also helped us stay more alert and identify suspicious symptoms easier just because there are less people in each team. I'm very grateful with my team for the resilience and creativity during these difficult times, really. Today, I can confirm that I'm proud of what I have achieved. However, I still have many ways to go and many more experiences to learn during this time. I'm proud to be one of those women who every day rises to be better human beings, mothers, and professionals leaving our mark on society. So today, I really encourage each and every one of you students to pursue your goals, no matter how difficult or impossible they may seem. Today, I talk about different challenges you might encounter during your career, but don't ever forget the satisfaction and experience you will obtain doing what you love. So thank you very much for the time.
Very good. Thank you so much, Lucy. Very inspiring. Really good. Yes, we'll make comments later. Well, we will be moving on to have Stella give her presentation to us now. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me just share my screen. Can everybody see my screen? Great. Well, good morning, good afternoon. It's a pleasure being here. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Marima, for the invitation. Great presentation, Sarah and Lucy, really inspiring. I'd like to talk a little bit today I'm just gonna talk a little bit how we as a team have been trying to overcome the pandemic, really good results, some fears and some moments, and also kind of introduce myself and talk a little bit about my journey until here. Before I start, I would just like to share that everybody can be a leader, no matter in which situation you are. Sometimes you're a leader at home, you're a leader in your relationship, you're a leader in your friend group, you're a leader everywhere. You're a leader at your work. And it's really good to be a leader, because when you actually decide to be a leader, it means that you have love, you have compassion, and you have empathy with others, because you deal with human beings, people that comes with so many different traumas, fears, anxiety, and always this eager to try and to learn. So I believe that not because I'm here talking, I believe I say there's so many leaders watching right now in so many different situations. So I'm just gonna share how I am as a leader. I'm Stella Siddarth. I come from Brazil, as Marima presented. I'm working right now at Driscoll's, and I don't work directly with breeding, but my team, the farming team, support the breeding program. Was a team that we couldn't stop at all. It had to keep going with the operations in order to make the good selections, in order to make the breed program work at Driscoll's. I represent the US farming team, and again, supporting the breeding program in order to have the best varieties that we can. Just a little bit about myself. I promise I'm going to have just a brief overview about myself. I started my PhD in 2010. I come from a region of northeast of Brazil. It's a region that really tropical, but also struggles a lot with salt stress and drought. It's a reality there. My passion for agriculture comes since I was a child, because I come from a farming community where I always was like around plants and everything. And one of the things that until now that kind of guide me in life, it's what brings love to myself, what makes me excited about life. And agriculture was one of them. Also, to be able to try to do something good and something that meaningful, I always had to see what my work can bring to someone else. And that's why I chose to work with plants under stress, because it was a reality that so many growers there were facing, couldn't produce because of the high amount of salts and the drought in Brazil. So I started my PhD with soil science and worked with some crops there to try to develop under this stress. And that's what actually took me to America. Never thought about to leave my country, never thought about that I would ever go anywhere. But again, life takes you to places that you can ever imagine. So I went to a conference meeting in Brazil, and I met this research from the USDA, who actually invited me to start a project to work with some crops here in California, Riverside, to try to develop those crops under salt and drought stress. That's also a reality in California. And it was in 2015 where the biggest challenge in my life that I was like, well, I never even left my city that was a small town. How I'm gonna go to a different country that I don't even speak the language. English was a barrier to me back on that time. But one thing that I always heard from my mom is whatever life presents to you, it's meant to be, and you're gonna find the right tools. And that's how I went my whole life. I'm gonna find the right tools. Sometimes you just need to trust, right? So I started with this beautiful group in Riverside, California, 2015, finished my research there that was part of my PhD, and had to return to Brazil in 2016, where I finished my PhD, presented my PhD. From there until 2018, I finished my PhD, waiting for life to show, kept believing that I want to be a researcher. There was something that was moving myself, it was making me happy, but sometimes, of course, doubt came and I didn't know what life would present again. And again, I started my process to come back to America in 2018. And I came back to America in December 2018, leaving my roots in Brazil and looking for what would be the fruits that Stella would bring to my life and into America. What was my destiny here? So again, I kept thinking about to be a researcher, and it was something that I never forgot about. It was something that was making me so happy. And when I start in Driscoll's, that was really exciting because since I come from the academic part of my whole background is academic, I want to see the industry. I want to learn about America. I want to see what's the challenges, and Driscoll's give this a lot, especially in the team that I work with. So the farming team is a really dynamic team in Driscoll's, and we work with so many different groups. I have a big team of managers, supervisors, technical growers, technicians, test plot workers in the whole US, California, Florida, in all the locations that we have Driscoll's here. But the main thing that actually made me fall in love for this company is the values. Driscoll's has so many good partners that's gonna train everybody to be good people, to be great, to improve their technical skills. But one of the beautiful things that also caught my attention when I was applying for different jobs is the values. Driscoll's value employees, and it's really important, especially when you go on the crisis, when you have the humility to learn from others, you have the passion to work extra hours, to do the best job that you can, and you can rely on others with trustworthiness. So those are the values at Driscoll's that I try to bring to my team every day. And from 2019 to 2020, we start to work together. There are so many changes, of course. I was a new leader. You know, I work with people with so many different ages, so many different personalities. It was a really interesting, challenging, and really exciting challenge because also I learned a lot from them. It's mainly by the team, it's more men, and it's also amazing work with them because you learn a lot from a different perspective. So in 2020, it's when everybody, not just us, we face the pandemic. And that's where you literally start to need to evaluate yourself, your leadership style, and see what are the needs, what we need to do right now. And I always used to work in my leadership style as balance. We need to have the right amount of support, but also the right amount of accountability. But when you go into a crisis, your leadership style needs to be reviewed every day because everybody's gonna come with so many different ways. If some people are gonna be completely unmotivated, or someone's gonna be really excited to do a lot that you need to step back. So your leadership style was, my leadership style was something that I had to evaluate every day. And of course, as a farming team, as I mentioned, we couldn't stop. We need to act quick. We need to have plan. And I'm more than happy to share in another moment all the situations we went through if anybody has interest in, but I kind of want to point 5 topics here. I think it's 5 that I think it was really important to keep us strong as a team, keep us moving forward, and keep us without the operations without jeopardizing our program, breeding program. First, more than anything, it's self-care. Was something that I trying to do with myself and with my team. If you're not good with yourself, how can you help someone else? If you don't have time for yourself, if you don't take care of your mental health, your physical body, your spiritual health, how can you help someone else? So it was something that not just the pandemic, I always trying to bring this to my team. You need to take care of yourself. You need to be good inside so you can see you outside. Second, we need to head, it was really difficult to trying to align. And that's what I mentioned, the values are really important when you go into a crisis. You need to align your team. You need to make sure you have the strongest people there. You need to make sure that you have people that are willing to learn from our partners. You need to make sure everybody has. So in order to have team aligned with the values, humility, passion, trustworthiness, I had to do some arrangements in the team. I had to restructure, changing position, replacing positions, and that was really difficult during the pandemic. So trying to make an alignment with the team, with the values, and also restructure the team to make sure, okay, everybody has the same mindset right now. We can be a team, including myself. Second, explain and be ready to shift gears, right? So during a crisis, if you don't act quick, it's really hard to not let your program go into a disaster. So to be able to overcome the pandemic as a team, we had to plan ahead. We had to gather information from other groups globally. So we were meeting every week with Spain. Spain at that time was the one that actually was really hard, the pandemic. So they had time to be creative and share the information with us. So we had those meetings where Spain was sharing information with us and we had to use, but sometimes it didn't work and we had to replane and trying to adjust for our reality in the US. So we had to be ready to shift gears. We had to be able to reinvent. We had to be able to plan, get informations and replane again. And I really like this type of, I just made up this group, like co-pilot type group, because if we think about a pilot, they all have a co-pilot to able to assist them. So I kind of like try to get the team and see, okay, what's the most important? Any task is important, any job is important, but what are the ones that we cannot go home? We need to be here in the field. Supervisors, managers, technical growers, technicians, let's find someone, start training someone so they can be a successor in case this person gets sick or need to go home or need to be with their family. You guys know, like people, the school shut down, people had to assist kids at home. So we had to have for each position, include my position, someone that were able to take our job. So the co-pilot type group, that's what we implement in the US, like everybody needs to have someone to do exactly the same work as you do. Communication, of course, transparency. When you're working in a group, and I feel like it's your family as well. I mean, you spend the whole day at work, it's your family. Part of your life is at work. And you need to be transparent. If you don't feel you cannot do a job, you need to have transparency. If you feel overwhelmed, you need to communicate with your team. And believe it or not, I thought that would be a little hard to engage my team, but that was the time that you got more engaged than any other time. Even like working virtually sometimes, the communication was really important. And now I feel like our team, it's way more engaged than any other time, because we decide to be really honest on how we felt with the communication, with change that might helping would affect our team. So communication was a key for us, and it's a key in any type of relationship, as you guys know. But most of those lead with compassion. Pandemic brings anxiety, as I mentioned, bring fears, unmotivation. People feel like they doubt about their job, and that I faced a lot. I became a mom, I became a friend, I became a therapist, I became everything that we could be in during this pandemic, because I was dealing with human people that were doubting about themselves. So again, everybody can be a leader. I feel like I'm learning to be a leader every day, but compassion also is the key overall, because every time you're gonna have to understand and plan with them, plan together and change. So that was actually help our team as a farm team to don't stop the operations. We didn't have any, I would say, I don't think the breeders felt any difference from what was before, because we are a team, a united team. Everybody was together, everybody was working together. And just as for everybody that's watching, before, in any situation that we go, we need to understand how we feel inside, because it's so easy to judge. It's so easy to think that someone is think different than you. It's so easy to doubt, but it's really important to understand what's happening inside you, because whatever is happening inside you, it's how you're gonna see you outside. If you're happy, if you have love, compassion, that's what you're gonna see in life. If you are judging, if you feel doubting, if you feel anything, that's how you're gonna see you outside. So please always watch your inside so you can create your outside. That's why you're gonna see life happening. And I'm more than happy to be connected. If anybody, I'm leaving my email here. And thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Stella. It's very wonderful to hear your humble story and heartfelt, and from each one of you. But you each have your particular strengths and fire or energy. You can really feel it from all of our speakers today. So we are wanted to reserve at least 5 minutes here for Q&A. There has been some technical issues here. There is a couple people with my name in the chat, but that's fine. So I think I think there is one question there. I will pose to all of you, which is, how can we better define, evolve our leadership style if we may not have opportunities for being people leaders or being positions that may affect decisions or changes us directly? Wants to start?
Well, yeah, can you hear me, Lucy? So, I think that every small project, every small activity, will bring you that opportunity to shine. It doesn't needs to be big or very small one, and we need to look those opportunities and use very wisely to start just creating that leadership style, and related to being in positions that may, affect decisions or changes. My opinion is that every time we need to be perseverant. Every day I have different situations that I need, and I have an idea or something like that, and not necessarily my boss, for example, is agree, but that never stopped me to, okay, maybe I need to go back, rethink my idea, rearrange my way to present, and eventually go back with him and present that, and the next time it was fine. So it's just, in my opinion, also be perseverant and never stop doing what you will like to do.
Thank you. Thanks, Lucy. We have another question from Jennifer Yates for any of you. What are some changes you've made because of COVID that you will continue after you return to some semblance of normal?
I can answer that. I can start if you guys don't mind. One of the things that we did, because we need, in our position, we need to be connected with growers, and we need to bring the growers to our test plots to be able to see our research. And because we couldn't do during the pandemic, and couldn't show our test plots, we started doing a lot of virtual tours that were able to connect with different test plots globally. So that was really good. So people would be able to see the test plots in different locations, and able to see what our operations are doing. So that's definitely something that we want to keep going after the pandemic, are the virtual tours to keep people together and seeing the test plots. And again, with the plan that I mentioned of training 2 people for the same position, that was something that was really, really helpful. Besides all the normal things that we had to do, social distancing, that not after pandemic, but keep training, always have a backup plan for the position. That is really helpful, because not just the pandemic, you have to travel, sometimes you go on vacation and things, and we did have, but the person didn't have like the skills that would be able to take that position before. And now I feel like each position has one person to help. So that would be two things that I'll definitely keep after the pandemic.
Thank you so much. Sara, maybe you want to make a comment either of the questions?
Sure. I guess for the first one with evolving the leadership style, I would say even as a breeder position, I'm not a site lead. I'm not larging impressive amounts, I'll say, impressive amounts of large groups of people like Lucy and Stella here. So I would say that really the things that I think about more to day are maybe even more impacts on data. And we know that data does impact our people. It impacts the operational components that Lucy and Stella might see in their situation. And so for me, I would say, and especially being probably a little bit more, well, not probably, an introvert, I'll say right there. I think things like taking time to read books and get some coaching and experience in other groups and participating in other groups are really good steps there, especially again, introverts. There's several books out there. Since you're an introvert, you probably like books to get steps into how you define your leadership skill in that sense. And especially when you like looking through data and thinking about that. And I would say if that's more of your style and it's similar to my case here, what you would want to do is to try and get yourself a mentor, an exposure to people that do work with large amounts of people. And so that you have an understanding of where it fits in the larger picture. And so I think that helps like you said, every little project, every little piece of that does come together into the work that we do every day.
Really good. Well, thank you again for everyone's participation. I would like to for Klaus to close it for us. We only have a couple minutes left, so I appreciate everybody's participation. Thank you.
Okay, well, yeah, thank you very much to our three panelists, and of course to you, Marimar, too. But I would agree that Chibwe put something on the chat here, that it was really impressive to see how all of you represented yourselves in a very unique way, but in a great way, your unique situation and your organizations and how you've approached the situation that I guess we all had to go through and are still going through right now. So thank you for that. Thank you for all the questions and comments that we've had, and of course for people participating, and a special thanks to Marimar for organizing all this. So she took a lot of initiative to help us get organized and realize this webinar. So thank you very much. Make sure that you tune in to one of the next webinars. There's several, I think, still coming from NAPB. And with that, have a good rest of the day. Enjoy the weekend. See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.